Hi everyone, hope you are feeling positive and healthy. Please subscribe with all bell notifications if you haven't already, and please don't hesitate to leave your valuable feedback and advice below. Thank you very much. Let's jump into the stories. Am I the unreasonable one for giving advice that resulted in my friend divorcing his wife? Throwaway because my main account is known to people in the post. Last in October, a guy showed up at my friend's house claiming he was the father of friend's 8-year-old and that he got friend's wife pregnant in an affair, but ran off and broke contact. Hell broke loose on the guy first, but seeing how the wife was acting suspicious, he confronted her where she admitted to the cheating, but claimed the child was my friend's. Friend got a paternity test done and found out he is not the father. He was hurt and depressed. He left his house and stayed a room away to think about the situation. His wife reached out to all our common friends and they all asked him to forgive the wife and move on. Friend was feeling complicated. His thoughts kept revolving around the 8-year-old. The divorce law in my area says that infidelity is grounds for divorce, but it is the father's responsibility to make sure his kids are secure financially. But if the father can prove that the wife committed paternity fraud, he gets out easy. Any lawyer could take this case and win. Due to his conflicting feelings, he had a massive breakdown. The wife and child also showed up to his place and caused a scene, asking for forgiveness and for daddy to come back. I usually stayed and listened to what he was feeling and saying, not giving any of my input till after the last time wife and child showed up. He said he wanted to know what to do. I tried to avoid adding my answer in any way and said there are no right answers and that he should do what makes him happy and mentally healthy. He kept on pressing me for a more direct answer and seeing how desperate he was for an answer, I told him that I would leave my wife in such a case without regret. She can manage her child on her own. I would do that because I know how cold I can get. Friend is my polar opposite. He literally does not hurt a fly. But this was just a hypothetical scenario and that the one experiencing this case in real life should look for his answer, not my hypothetical response. This happened in April this year. Mid-July, my friend finally divorced his wife and she moved out. He made a Facebook post thanking me for giving him advice that made him resolve to leave fake happiness for his own selfish happiness. The ex-wife called me a monster for destroying their happiness. Most of our friends and my wife are livid because they said I broke up their marriage. Wife is angry because my advice caused him to abandon his, not his, child. That the child has lost the person they knew as their father. I am pretty sure I was clear about what I said and that it was not advice. But if he followed that part, then I am not blaming him for what he did. Friends and wife still think I am the because there could have been better ways to handle the situation. So am I the unreasonable one? Not the unreasonable one. And I feel a little like I'm taking crazy pills because you are considering taking even 1% of the blame for this. The ex-wife destroyed her own marriage by cheating and having someone else's baby. End of story. Lol mate, based on your wife's reaction, if you have kids I reckon you should get a paternity test. Seriously, is there some kind of conspiracy in your neighborhood where all the wives are having affairs and having kids with men other than their husband? Because I can think of no other reason why everything would tell your mate that staying with a woman who committed adultery, lied about it for presumably 9 years or more, and allowed him to raise a kid he didn't know wasn't his, is a good idea. F those guys. Not the unreasonable one. Also, after reading through a lot of responses, I've come to accept that a lot of people appear to believe the age-old two parents who hate each other is better than one, which is absolutely ridiculous. My first boyfriend had parents who stayed together for him. He was so emotionally screwed up it was a nightmare. He honestly didn't realize until his father remarried what a loving relationship should look like. That's so sad. To this day I am thankful that my mother walked away when she realized the relationship with my father wasn't working. End rant. Am I the unreasonable one for taking pictures of my girlfriend in a bikini? Throwaway. My girlfriend and I have been together for 6 years now. We have a 15-month-old together, and I'm very happy and content with my life that we've created together. My parents, especially my mom, don't like my girlfriend. They've never said, "I don't like your girlfriend," but they've never respected her. She would always be on the receiving end of their backhanded compliments and passive aggressiveness. Obviously, I couldn't tolerate that crap and I started to distance myself from them. When we announced our pregnancy, my mom's first reaction was to blame my girlfriend for getting pregnant before marriage. I'm not going to explain how stupid that sounds. And to get mad at my girlfriend for choosing to continue her education while expectant and caring for a child. She's currently getting her master's degree. I told my mom several times to shut up. My girlfriend was still working out through most of her pregnancy, and very quickly fell back into that routine after she gave birth. It was completely her decision. She's happy working out and she looks great either way, so who was I to stop her? My mom caught wind of this through a family friend, and essentially shamed her for it through a series of badly written text messages. I had to put a stop to it, and my mom just kept going. We eventually stopped responding to my mom's texts for a while. My parents came to stay with me because my mom's best friend, who was living with her, passed away. I was very hesitant to let my parents come over, but my girlfriend convinced me to take them and let her grieve properly. I did tell them that I wouldn't hesitate to kick them out if they insulted my girlfriend. They're staying with us for a week. My parents and my girlfriend managed to stay out of each other's hair. My mom actually gave my girlfriend a genuine compliment about her food. I know, it's the bare minimum, but I think it took everyone aback, and my dad didn't complain about anything. Good things only last so long. My girlfriend made a one-piece swimsuit and a bikini from scratch. She was really proud of herself and wanted to take pictures of herself in her bikini in our backyard, around/in the pool. It was all in good fun. She thought she looked nice and wanted to see her hard work. The photo shoot lasted almost 10 minutes, and my girlfriend immediately wore a robe when we were finished. I'm assuming my mom was watching us, because her first thought was to ask my girlfriend why she was so eager to reveal her body. Then she went on to basically call my girlfriend a slut for posting revealing photos on her Instagram when my girlfriend took offense to that statement, and I got mad at her for being rude. My dad chimed in claiming that she could have waited until later to avoid being too distracting. My girlfriend began to wear looser clothing around my parents because she was starting to see their point of view. They're out of my house now and I'm still pissed, but everyone thinks I'm overreacting. Also, I did kick them out. However, I did give them a day to move out though so that they could find a hotel or somewhere else to stay, hence my girlfriend started to wear looser clothing around my parents. Leaning towards everyone sucks here except for your GF. Why are you allowing your parents to continue to verbally abuse your girlfriend? Is there some other reason you keep letting them in? They've shown you who they are, believe them. You're TA for not shutting that down sooner, but more than that your parents are TA for how they're talking to the mother of your child. Not the unreasonable one at all. Why would anyone think you are or even you think you are? Your parents are prudish pricks. Am I the unreasonable one for taking the rest of my family on vacations without my oldest son because my ex never gave him permission to travel? My parenting agreement included the words, both parents must give permission to take the child out of state or out of the country. The first few years after my divorce, I had no issues taking my son with me on trips, but once I married my wife, my ex became extremely hostile and denied every single request to take my son out of state, let alone out of the country. We initially tried to make do by taking local trips, but my wife and I felt it was very unfair to my stepdaughter and our two younger children to miss out on these experiences. So from the time my son was 12 to 18, we went on 4 big trips that were out of the country, and every time, I planned the trips on my custody days, and requested official permission from my ex, which she always denied. And as much as I hated it, we went on the trips anyway. I went back to court 3 separate times over the years to fix the wording in the agreement, which I always lost. At the guidance of our family therapist, I was always upfront with my son about why he wasn't able to come on the trips. And I also made sure I saved proof of my ex denying permission. He was upset, but at the time, directed his anger at my ex and seemed to be understanding towards me. But when my son turned 18, it all blew up in my face. He started attacking me for going on the trips. I tried to compromise by paying airfare for him to go to the same locations we went to. But that wasn't enough, and I've since paid all his costs to go to New York City and Hawaii to try and fix our relationship. But after every trip, he just comes back angrier because he wants the entire family to go with him. My wife stopped working a year ago due to some issues. There is no way I can afford what he's asking. I had to be firm and I told him he can accept my offer of paying for his trips, which are not cheap in the slightest, or not get anything at all. And I told him he had to wait for the next 2 trips because money is very tight. He did not take it well and now has involved my ex, her parents, my parents, and it's a whole mess. Was I the a-hole here? I feel like I'm at a breaking point from the stress. Everyone sucks here except your son. Your son doesn't want the places, he wants the family time. Yes, it's his mother's fault he couldn't go on the trips, but by planning them during your custody time, you actually took the time he was supposed to get with you away from him to spend it with your new family. Take the money you're using to send him away on his own and invest it in some closer trips you can actually do as a family, as well as some family counseling, because you simply are not hearing what he is really trying to express to you. That he has felt left out of your family all these years, and by sending him solo on these trips you are making it even more clear that you still see him as separate from your family. Everyone sucks here. Your ex-wife got what she wanted, You son being estranged from you. Logic isn't going to be able to overcome this very easily because he feels left out. And truthfully, you did leave him out, and he has plenty of reason to be angry with you. Am I the unreasonable one for filing a harassment complaint against my elderly neighbors? I'm an almost 27 years old woman moved into this neighborhood last fall. My next door neighbors have to be in their late 70s or early 80s. They're not friendly. When I introduced myself to them, I didn't get a hello back, just a scowl. Great. Upside down face. I have those kinds of neighbors. Since quarantine started in about mid-March, I've been working from home the majority of the time. I'm a statistician, so I don't need to go into the office much now. I only leave the house to buy groceries, pick up my prescription or get the occasional coffee. Ever since I moved in, I've noticed that my neighbors like to stare a lot. When I'm washing dishes or making coffee, they will stand in their backyard and stare at me through the side door, or sit in their kitchen window and stare at me into my kitchen window. Luckily I have blinds on the windows, but not on the door, and it just makes me feel so uncomfortable. Last year in October I got a new SUV. Sometimes I will park it on the street, and I noticed that shortly after I leased it, a couple of times I saw the neighbor walking up to my car and taking pictures of it, of the license plate, writing down the license plate number, looking inside of the car and taking pictures of that and the VIN number on the dashboard. I have nothing to hide, but I still thought it was weird, but shrugged it off as them just being senile and paranoid. Other instances of them, both the husband and wife, invading my privacy include them standing on the sidewalk by my front window and just staring when I'm in my living room. They especially do this when I order food. The weirdest one was last week when I came home from grocery shopping one evening and I caught the husband taking pictures of packages on my front porch. I rolled down the window of my car and loudly asked him, "Is there a problem, sir?" He turned around and scowled at me and walked briskly back to his house. On Friday I got a visit from a police officer. Apparently they called the police on me for a noise complaint and for having a junk car in my driveway with expired license plate tags. The noise complaint didn't make sense because I am the quietest person ever. As for the expired tags on my car, I renewed my registration and I'm waiting for it to come in the mail. My birthday is next week Monday. The officer was very nice and understanding, especially after I told him that my neighbors are elderly. I went on and told the officer about the other things that the neighbors did, staring in my window, taking pictures of my car and of my mail, etc., and how uncomfortable they had made me, and the cop suggested that I could file a complaint for harassment, so I did. I figured, great. The cop will talk to them and maybe they'll leave me alone. This morning I woke up to a note taped on my windshield that read, "How nice of you to file a harassment complaint against your elderly neighbors. Go back to where you came from if that's how you want to treat us." Am I the unreasonable one? Update. Found nails in my tires this morning. Frown. Make sure the note gets added to the original complaint, not the unreasonable one. Also, and now with the tire damage, it's time to escalate again. Get some cameras, ASAP. I should add that I am white, in reference to the "go back to where you came from" comment. However, I do have olive skin, dark brown hair and brown eyes. I'm of Romanian and Greek descent, so I may not seem white enough to others. Am I the unreasonable one for telling my MIL to have her own baby when she was hassling me about motherhood? My husband and I have been married for a few months, and people have started to ask us when we're planning to have a baby. Neither my husband nor I have any interest in being parents, so we've just been shrugging it off and saying, "We'll let you know." This past weekend my mother-in-law told me that she wanted a real answer and not an excuse, so I finally just told her that we have no plans to have any children. She wanted to hear my reasons why not, so I told her that being a parent is too much commitment/responsibility. It's too expensive to raise kids in the country where we live. Climate change makes me uncertain about future safety of our planet, and I don't want to put my body through pregnancy. She said that all of my reasons are selfish and that it's wrong to deprive a potential child of love just because I don't want responsibility, and that it's unfair to the rest of the family that I'm stopping them from passing on their genes and continuing a legacy. I told her that if she really wants another baby in the family so badly, to get off my case about it and have one herself. I really didn't mean anything by it other than being flip, because she's well past childbearing age. But the comment really upset her to the point that she started crying and saying that she couldn't believe I would say something so insensitive. She refused to speak to me any further about it, but later told my husband that it was a horrible thing of me to say while knowing that her own husband had died before they were able to have as many kids as they'd wanted. I didn't know this. It's not something she had ever mentioned around me. My husband said he remembered her mentioning a couple of times over the years that she wished she'd had a daughter, but nothing more than that. So I feel like she's overreacting to what was a snarky remark. but not meant to be a personal insult, and that she started it in the first place by giving me crap about not wanting a baby, but she thinks I owe her an apology for crossing the line, and my husband agrees that what I said to her was harsher than what she said to me. Was I the a-hole here? Not the unreasonable one. You accidentally said something hurtful and hit a nerve. That is, however, because she pressured you to have a conversation about why you didn't want kids. She caused this scenario. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. I think if you feel like it, you could apologize for hurting her feelings because you weren't aware she wanted more kids, but I really think you're in the right here. Not the unreasonable one. Pressuring people to have babies has always been weird to me, especially once they've expressed that they don't want one. Why do you want to put a child in a situation where they are potentially unloved and their needs aren't met? Not saying you'd be a bad parent, but as a child-free person that's always been my take. Also, it's effing weird when people start asking about babies because my brain always goes, why are you concerned about how much intimate time I'm having and where my partner is coming? Invasive much? Definitely NTA. She shouldn't have pushed it. Would I be the unreasonable one for not allowing a group of women in my house and calling police on them if they attempt again? I, 30 years old female, and my wife, 37, just moved to a somewhat rural area. I wasn't thrilled originally it was for wife's job, but I quickly got a job using my old master's degree as the local children's librarian, found a really nice group of friends, and settled in quickly. Another important note, I am also 15 weeks pregnant. It appears that we moved onto the old-timers block. We are the youngest here by at least 30 years, and all our neighbors have adult children. During the pandemic, we were friendly, but distant for safety with our neighbors. But now that things are opening up, I've got an issue. There is a group of 7 or so women on my block who have taken extreme interest in my pregnancy and my marriage. I am working from home, and more often than not, these women end up on my porch asking if I'd like to have coffee, which I quickly learned meant in my house. Because my work is sporadic and I can often go 3 hours with nothing to do, I was fine at first. We sat in the backyard and company was nice, but now it's taken a turn. Every other question is, should you do that? Should you be eating so many tomatoes with salt? It's a craving. Why isn't your wife doing this? And the latest one, which I shut down immediately, do you worry about lack of male presence for your child? Or it's just comments about what I should do for my body. It's grown old. Recently, it's also become when baby arrives, I'll watch it one day, will watch it the next, see the day after, and so on. They did not ask. They stated they would be watching my baby. So, recently when they've come over, I've made excuses to why they could not visit, and the last 2 times I spoke to them, I, and wife, she was involved, have stated that their comments made me uncomfortable. They will not be watching my child, and they are not welcome to visit anymore. I will return any gifts they give. Except they keep on showing up. I've ignored them, not answered the door, and when I finally answered the door to tell them to stop, was met with a "we just love babies and want to make sure you have the best." I'm at my wit's end. Wife has had to take days off of work because she worried about me alone. I have made my mind up that the next time they show up, I'm simply going to call the police for trespassing. That being said, a little nagging voice in the back of my head is telling me that's too extreme, and these are little old ladies who may not mean any harm. Also, if I call the police, I end any goodwill on our block. Would I be the unreasonable one if I call the police on them? Is it extreme? Technically not the unreasonable one. But I don't think it's a good idea. It's a small town. You'll turn a lot of people against you. In turn, those people may turn their kids, or anyone they know with kids, against your child. Small town sucks for stuff like that. I recommend lying and saying you're on bed rest as someone else recommended. Honestly, I think this is the softest everyone sucks here I've ever wanted to give. Yes, they're wrong for marching into your world and refusing to leave. They need a lesson in boundaries and to curb their enthusiasm a ton. But also, I think if you called the cops, the voice in your head is right, it would be too extreme. The police aren't the lesson they need. Your message that you need space hasn't got through to them yet. But you have to keep trying to explain. Their version of help and your version of help aren't the same thing. But from what you've said, I think they do mean well. Plus, someday it might be nice to have them on board when you're an exhausted new mom who just wants 5 minutes alone with your wife. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell for more stories delivered to you. Thanks for listening. See you later.